Our coaches are in Adelaide. Ken Hinkley, welcome.
Evening, boys.
Brad Scott, hello.
Hey, Jared. Hey, Robbo.
G'day, Brad.
We're just rounding out the MRO. Luke McDonald's got a week for careless, medium and high. He left Chase Jones out of the game from this moment on. Did you expect that this was going to come back as a suspension?
Oh, well, potentially I'm a bit biased. I suspect we'll go to the tribunal on this one. It's very doubtful that the contact that Luke made, in my view, contributed to the concussion. So I think as Chase goes down...
The way he goes down, the way he landed...
Yep.
I thought that at the time, actually.
Yeah, so the question is his left knee there, what actually caused the issue itself. So, yeah, the week's a bit frustrating for us. I thought it was certainly a free kick and a 50-metre penalty, but, yeah, I think we'll challenge the week.
It was an aggressive North Melbourne.
Yeah,
like I think 3 players today got fined.
Yeah, one of the fines for an umpire backing into Ben Cunnington. So, yeah, I think that at the moment is something the AFL are looking really closely at, but I think an $8,000 fine is a little bit steep.
It was a bit steep, but there certainly was an aggressive look. It was a better team performance. Defensively, I've spoken about it already. It was one of the best performances we've seen from a team this year. And up against it a bit at Zip 3. The response, you would have been absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy. I mean, we've worked really hard on a lot of things that we needed to work on defensively, scored against far too easily, and yeah, put it together in patches, but just not for long enough. So consistency of effort and better defensive effort was certainly a focus going into the game, and the players were able to execute that really well.
Ben Brown's been a lightning rod for criticism through the first 4 weeks of the season. Brendan Goddard had him in his sights during the call on Saturday night.
Ben Brown, just stand up and play like a man. He's allowed to touch you. Why are the umpires buying into that? Make a stand and say, Ben, that's not acceptable. Stop staging or flopping for free kicks.
Is he coming away from contacts too easily?
Look, I think that the media have every right to criticise what they see, and Wayne Carey was very vocal in his criticism of Ben last week, and we thought that was fair. It's opinion-based. We may not necessarily agree with the opinion, but I think when it's questioning your football, that's fair enough. But when you tell a player to be a man, I think that oversteps the mark a little bit and starts to question Ben's integrity. And Ben Brown is a man of the highest integrity who launches at the ball wherever possible. And we've certainly spoken to Brownie a lot about launching at the ball, because if he can't launch at the ball, there's a reason for it. He's either being impeded or they're coming over the top like that. I think some teams do it really well and other teams probably stop his run at the ball a fair bit. So he does get a lot of free kicks, but most of them are there. And if you analyse the behind the goals vision, there's a lot more there too.
Did you speak to Ben about that incident in the ruck there or not?
Yeah, he did, and it was a bit of a plan, to be honest. We had done a fair bit of work on Adelaide's rucks, and they certainly liked a body. And Ben is not a body-on-body type ruckman, he's more of a jumper. And the umpires have made it really clear to us that if you fend, so if you straight arm the opposition ruckman, it's a fend is a free kick.
And that was paid in the middle of the ground?
The first ruck contest of the game.
Yeah, I think
it was paid against Goldie for doing the same thing. So our strategy in the forward 50 was for Ben to run and jump at the ball, and if he was fended, it would be a free kick.
Were you angry with BJ's comment? Are you being cool now and quite diplomatic, or inside, are you really angry that BJ, who's a 300-game player, and he's had his own moments where people have questioned BJ about things, are you really angry with him, or you just want to give him hey, Brendan, don't question?
I think the recently retired players, and Brendan's been retired for about 4 games now, I think they should probably just do a little bit of time in the media before they really start going after, what used to be their brethren and their peer group. But look, at the end of the day, Brendan's now part of the media, so he is absolutely entitled to his opinion, but I just prefer that the media criticise the football, not the person.
And the game that he played, 4 goals too, and he was the centrepiece, I guess, that we've been used to him being. How did you think he responded in terms of his form?
No, I think he responded really well, but we also responded as a team in terms of the delivery to him. It was really poor in the first 3 weeks, and it made it really hard for Brownie. We also had a lack of supply going forward, but when you get service like that from Jared Pollock, that certainly helps you as a forward. And but one of the things we admire about Ben Brown is that he often competes 2 and 3 on 1. So even if our delivery's not that good, he's so good at bringing the ball to ground and bringing our smalls into play. So it wasn't just the 4 goals too, it was also bringing our smalls into the game.
The Smalls, in the one particular, in the middle of the ground, Jed Anderson, and when he got picked up from you blokes from Hawthorn, the tray was done. People were going, really? OK, no worries. Then Jed plays a really solid year of football last year. He misses 3 games, he comes in on the weekend. He got in the coaches' votes. He's enormous for your team, isn't he? I mean, I'm not trying to overstate it here, but he's such an important player.
I think there are those players that internally are rated so highly, but externally potentially don't get the recognition and the credit that they do internally. And I think every coach could name a player like that. And for a long time for us, that was Ben Cunnington, but now the external recognition is matching the internal. But Jed's someone that we rate incredibly highly. He does a lot of stuff away from the ball that we really value, and he really sets the tone for how we want to play. So we've certainly missed him, but it's not good enough for us to say that, oh, our pressure's better now because Jed Anderson's back. We need other players to step up to that level.
So typically the first 4 rounds are higher scoring than the rest of the season, but there's been a steady deterioration over, so we've got the sample of 2016 through to now. So from 2016 it rose slightly in 17, but the goals per game now sits at 11.7 per team per game. The shots at goal are in decline, so it's not just a question of inaccuracy, and that's one of the theories that's been put forward. And the points per team per game, say from 2017 where it was 94.7 is down to 80.9 in what is typically sort of high-octane, high-scoring starts to the season.
Coaches will focus on something, but ideally you want balance. You want to attack really well, defend really well, and win the contested possession. But at the moment, I'm noticing a few teams controlling the ball a fair bit too. So Collingwood had almost a record 180 marks in a game, probably did the same again the next week. So uncontested marks are going up a fair bit too. And so when there's ball control, naturally there's less scoring, because sides are trying to hold on to the ball rather than the ballistic, back line to forward line, full length of the ground transition. So I think it depends on the game style a little bit. So some teams are doing that to counteract really good attacking teams, which is bringing the scoring down. So I think it's the way the games are played rather than the state of the game in its entirety.
Some of the teams are protecting turnovers. Kenny's just saying we're taking the risk, which is going to create turnovers, which is going to create goals. Buckley was really worried at the start of the year, saying, in the JLT, we're getting too many turnovers. So they're controlling the ball coming out of the backup. People are sitting at home. I want to ask you, be honest, I know you look after the game, I know you do. People are sitting at home watching some of these games, Brad. I don't know if you heard, but I described the Adelaide performance on the weekend was some of the most boring football I had seen for many, many years. They couldn't move the ball, and when they did, chip, 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 backwards, chip, chip. You're probably thinking, oh, how great is this? They can't get near the goals. People are sitting home going, what is going on with our game? So it'll be interesting to see. Do you think it'll be a trend of controlling the ball coming out of the back half or not?
No, it'll just change. I mean, I think
to what?
To whatever is winning at the time. So we had 144 points kicked against us in round 1. I mean, that is just not acceptable, not sustainable. So we were going to put mechanisms in place to change that. And we've done that reasonably successfully. So Adelaide kicked 59 points on the weekend. But we'll play other teams that don't necessarily pose as attacking a threat as a Josh Jenkins, Taylor Walker, Eddie Betts, Tom Lynch. So we might play a little bit differently. But yeah, round 4 is just, and 4 games of footy is not a big enough sample size. It is about the time where we as a club start to look at trends across the competition. So I think there's a little bit of validity to the sample size, but not enough yet, because there have been certain games that have been played in a certain way that dramatically affect the overall numbers.
I'm really, I think we're all thankful that we haven't got all games playing the same style of football, because if that was going on, we would be going crazy.
Do you think there'd be coaches who'd be concocting a bit of creativity to let loose at some point during the season?
No, absolutely no doubt. I think getting back to Ken's original point, if you go into an ultra defensive mode, then you're not going to score yourself very well. So depending on the ebbs and flows of the game, that you need to be able to flick the switch to say, right, we need to change and we need to get a bit more free-flowing and scoring. You know, for example, if you have the first 3 goals of the game kicked against you and you want to play an ultra-defensive style, well, you just slowly lose by 3 or 4 goals. So every team would have different modes of play and you need to be able to pull the trigger. Now, executing, it's another thing. It's not good enough just to say, righto, boys, let's attack and then hope it works. You know, you've got to be able to execute.
Good Friday. We know they're big games. I'm not even going to say. I'll say it. They're big games this Friday night. You're taking on Essendon. Kenny, you're taking on West Coast Eagles. First of all, Brad, the day itself, you've been a part of it now, your football club, so you must be really proud of that. Do you use in your coaching whatsoever the messaging of the day, or do you try and keep that completely separate to what you're trying to do with your playing group?
No, I use it. I use it in probably a different way than you think I do.
Do explain, can you?
Well, I think that we are, all of us living in this country, in particularly in this town in Melbourne, but anywhere in Australia, to be born in Australia, are unbelievably lucky. To have the opportunity to play AFL football, you're unbelievably lucky. Now, you work hard to get that opportunity, but we're really fortunate to be born into the situation that we're born into. When we go to the Royal Children's Hospital every year and we see kids who are born with through no fault of their own, just into terrible circumstances or through accidents, through no fault of their own, are in terrible circumstances, it's worthwhile reflecting and having a bit of a gracious attitude to just how lucky we are to be able to do what we do. And so in some small way to be able to give back and contribute and give these kids hopefully some opportunity that they wouldn't otherwise have is extremely humbling.
Do you know, Kenny, if there will be any theming, the Good Friday theming around the game in Perth? Obviously, the Royal Children's Hospital Appeal is Victorian-based, so it's an institution here. Do you know what lies ahead for Friday in Perth?
No, not so much, Jared, but certainly from our point of view, and I just heard Brad say what he said, and it makes a lot of sense to me that, you know, you'd be grateful for the opportunity. For us, it's, you know, we've got a great history against West Coast in the recent history, and we would be a side that looks forward to the opportunity to be a part of that. It's not dissimilar the week later where we go into Anzac Day, so they're great events to be part of, and, you know, ones that you're honoured to be a part of and playing in. And from our point of view, that's the way we will treat it this week.
We get to do our bit on 360. So we have a corporate box to Marvel Stadium to see North Melbourne and Essendon as part of the Good Friday appeal. So 12 guests with all food and drink provided and a Fox Footy star. It will be a pop-up guest. All funds go to the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday appeal. So you can make your bid at app.galabid.com/GFA. So this is the perfect way to make your donation, make a hefty donation and go with 11
Who's popping
mates
up?
to the footy.
Are you popping up?
I don't believe so. But somebody is.
Oh, that'd be a wonderful day. Wonderful day. So we're auctioning it, are we?
Yes.
Right.
And so use the app to make your bid and we'll have a winner on Wednesday night. But given that all of us, certainly in Victoria, make a donation, that's a great way to bind together with 11
Are you
mates.
calling the game?
Yes.
Well, I think you should pop in for 10 minutes. So Jared's going to pop in as well at half time. Okay?
Very good.
Okay? Yes?
You got it right, mate. Brad, good luck Friday. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jared. Pleasure.
And Kenny, same to you. Thanks a lot.